Welcome back to my channel and thank you guys so much for being here. This week we're going to be looking at how to make the reusable fabric virus protection gloves. Now before we start, subscribe to my channel by hitting the red subscribe button, and also don't forget to ding that notification bell. It will let you know the next time that I upload. So this week we're looking at the reusable fabric glove. Just some tips and tricks so that it fits and it actually looks like a glove. Now these are from a shirt. You can use jersey nude fabrics that have a lot of stretch, but you still need the principles that I'm going to teach you on how to make the glove and have it fit properly. Now gloves can be worn whether or not you are interested in the virus protection aspect of it, or if you have any kind of skin diseases that you need to wear the gloves wherever your burn is. Put on something that has a UV protection. So I've made these two gloves with two different zigzag width. The wider zigzag width does not keep in the seam allowance, as you can see, but it still allows it to stretch. Whereas the smaller zigzag, it keeps in the seam allowance and it also allows the glove to still stretch. However, you can put it on and you can, look at that, mess around with it and it just slips on. If you're making a stretchy glove, the best fabric to use is a 4-way stretch fabric. And 4-way just means that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 ways. So the fabric will stretch up and down and the fabric will stretch across. Now at this stage of making your pattern, one of the things that you have to remember is you do not want your glove to end here when you add your seam allowance. So you're going to add a 3/8 seam allowance, which is the allowance that you're going to zigzag so that your glove fits snug. But one of the things that you do is if you go here, right, here's where your hand fits. If you do your 3/8 and end here, that means you're going to have all this space from here, this whole amount of space right here, where your glove is not going to fit your hand. So what you're going to want to do is, when you come down with your seam allowance, all the way down, tailor it down, and then bring it back up. Okay, so when you do your zigzag's going to come, your zigzag's going to come here. Your zigzag's going to go here, down, it's going to touch, and then that becomes your seam allowance, okay? Now the other tip is, when it comes to your fingertips, you're going to go up your 3/8, right, around. But what I want you to do is just add about a 1/16 of an inch on top of your nail tips, okay? Because my fingernails are long and that will allow it so that it leaves just a little bit of space here so that your fingernails are not poking through your glove. Also, when you are stitching, go back and reinforce your zigzag stitch and do it at least twice. To finish off your pattern, this is the best time to draw your grain line. Now for this part here, use 5/8 of an inch. So just taper it from 3/8 and add 5/8 of an inch seam allowance on this side because you want this to go over your wrist. And generally when you make this pattern longer, your wrist, actually you can't get it over the wrist, it's too tight. Okay. Whenever you're going to be using stretch knit, whether it's a two-way stretch or four-way stretch, you want to use a ballpoint stretch needle. The other needles that you can use are the twin needles. Now these are best known in denim jeans for the double stitch and at the bottom of your t-shirts. If you look there, you'll notice that one side has two stitches that look like a straight stitch, and then the other side actually has a zigzag, which allows it to have that little bit of a pull. Now you do have to be very mindful because remember, straight stitches, tension, and you have to make sure that the fabric that you're using is actually pliable for that and that it's not going to snap, because even at the bottom of t-shirts you'll notice that they do snap, so be mindful. I would just go with the ballpoint and the zigzag. Now here are some other tips before you start sewing. Now this is a straight stitch on interlock. Now when you pull, your stitch snaps. Now this is the zigzag, and this is a wide zigzag, and let me show you the stretch that you get. When your zigzag stitch length is shorter, this is what you get. Do you see how much stretch, how much flexibility you get? I made a glove using the straight stitch, and I want to show you what happens when you use a straight stitch. You see the stitches snap. Anywhere that there's tension, you'll see it will snap, okay? And then the other thing, what will happen is, because there isn't enough stretch, when you go to put your glove on, it's not even giving you the opportunity to wiggle your hands through. So try really to make sure it's not a straight stitch. Remember guys, if you're going to be using your t-shirt, remember not all t-shirts are the same. Make sure you try and use a stretch, and so that means it will be able to stretch over your hand. I always find that if you don't want to use like a pin or something, using your pinky is good because your pinky is a really good finger. It's nice and small, and generally your pinky has a little bit more strength. So you can use an awl if you have one. And in an absence of all those tools, you can always use a pin to pull out your seam line. Now we've come to the end of the program, and I do want to thank you guys for staying to the end. I do look forward to seeing you next week, but before we go, subscribe to my channel by hitting the red subscribe button, and also don't forget to hit that notification bell. It will allow you to know the next time that I upload. And remember, sharing is caring, so if you can, share my program with others that will need it. Thank you.